Hello everyone, here we are. We're going to get back into Second Chronicles, so let's go. Second Chronicles chapter 11. When Rehoboam arrived in Jerusalem, he mustered Judah and Benjamin, 180,000 able young men to go to war against Israel and to regain the kingdom for Rehoboam. Now remember, Solomon has lost everything but Judah and Benjamin, apparently. And Israel doesn't want to serve him, okay? So this is what's happening now. But this word of the Lord came to Shemaiah, the man of God. Say to Rehoboam, son of Solomon, king of Judah, and to all Israel in Judah and Benjamin, because they're Israelites, this is what the Lord says. Do not go up to fight against your fellow Israelites. Go home, every one of you, for this is my doing. In other words, I'm separating you from the rest of Israel. Judah and Benjamin are separate, okay? So they obeyed the words of the Lord and turned back from marching against Jeroboam. Rehoboam lived in Jerusalem and built up the towns for defense in Judah: Bethlehem, Etam, Tekoa, Beth-zur, Soko, Adullam, Gath, which used to be a Philistine territory, Marishah, Ziph, Adoraim, Lachish, Azekah, Zorah, Aijalon, and Hebron, which is still a very important place to this day. These were fortified cities to Judah and Benjamin. He strengthened their defenses and put commanders in them with supplies of food, olive oil, and wine. He put shields and spears in all the cities and made them very strong. So Judah and Benjamin were his. So that's what Solomon got, was Judah and Benjamin. And now Solomon's gone, so it's Rehoboam, his son. The priests and Levites from all their districts throughout Israel sided with him. The Levites even abandoned their pasture lands and property and came to Judah and Jerusalem because Jeroboam and his sons had rejected them as priests of the Lord. So the rest of Israel has rejected them as priests. When he appointed his own priests for the high places, this would be Jeroboam, and for the goat and calf idols he had made. Those from every tribe of Israel who set their hearts on seeking the Lord, the God of Israel, followed the Levites to Jerusalem to offer sacrifices to the Lord, the God of their ancestors. They strengthened the kingdom of Judah and supported Rehoboam, son of Solomon, 3 years, following the ways of David and Solomon during this time. Rehoboam married Mahalath, who was the daughter of David's son Jeremoth and of Abihail, the daughter of Jesse's son Eliab. She bore him sons, Jeush, Shemariah, and Zaham. Then he married Maacah, daughter of Absalom, who bore him Abijah, Attai, Ziza, and Shelomith. Rehoboam loved Maacah, daughter of Absalom, more than any of his other wives and concubines. In all, he had 18 wives and 60 concubines, 28 sons and 60 daughters. Rehoboam appointed Abijah, son of Maacah, as crown prince among his brothers in order to make him king. He acted wisely, dispersing some of his sons throughout the districts of Judah and Benjamin, and to all the fortified cities. He gave them abundant provisions and took many wives for them. After Rehoboam's position as king was established and he had become strong, he and all Israel with him abandoned the law of the Lord, because they had been unfaithful to the Lord. Shishak, king of Egypt, attacked Jerusalem in the 5th year of King Rehoboam, with 1,200 chariots and 60,000 horsemen and the innumerable troops of Libyans, Sukkites, and Cushites that came with him from Egypt. He captured the fortified cities of Judah and came as far as Jerusalem. Then the prophet Shemaiah came to Rehoboam and to the leaders of Judah who had assembled in Jerusalem for fear of Shishak. And he said to them, "This is what the Lord says. You have abandoned me, therefore I now abandon you to Shishak." The leaders of Israel and the king humbled themselves and said, "The Lord is just." When the Lord saw that they humbled themselves, this word of the Lord came to Shemaiah. "Since they've humbled themselves, I will not destroy them, but will soon give them deliverance. My wrath will not be poured out on Jerusalem through Shishak. They will, however, become subject to him so that they may learn the difference between serving me and serving the kings of other lands." When Shishak, king of Egypt, attacked Jerusalem, he carried off the treasures of the temple of the Lord and the treasures of the royal palace. That would be the palace of the forest of Lebanon. He took everything, including the gold shields Solomon had made. So King Rehoboam made bronze shields to replace them and assigned these to the commanders of the guard on duty at the entrance to the royal palace. Whenever the king went to the Lord's temple, the guards went with him bearing the shields, and afterwards they returned them to the guard room. This is kind of sad. Because Rehoboam humbled himself, the Lord's anger turned from him, and he was not totally destroyed. Indeed, there was some good in Judah. King Rehoboam established himself firmly in Jerusalem and continued as king. He was 41 years old when he became king, and he reigned 17 years in Jerusalem, the city of the Lord had chosen out of all the tribes of Israel in which to put his name, the temple. His mother's name was Naamah. She was an Ammonite. He did evil because he'd not set his heart on seeking the Lord. As for the events of Rehoboam's reign from beginning to end, are they not written in the records of Shemaiah the prophet and of Iddo the seer, that deal with genealogies? There was continual warfare between Rehoboam and Jeroboam. Rehoboam rested with his ancestors and was buried in the city of David, and Abijah, his son, succeeded him as king. In the 18th year of the reign of Jeroboam, Abijah became king of Judah, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 years. His mother was Maacah, a daughter of Uriel of Gibeah. There was war between Abijah and Jeroboam. Abijah went into battle with an army of 4,000 able fighting men, and Jeroboam drew up a battle line against him with 800,000 able troops. Abijah stood on Mount Zemarim in the hill country of Ephraim and said, "Jeroboam and all Israel, listen to me. Don't you know that the Lord, the God of Israel, has given the kingship of Israel to David and his descendants forever by a covenant of salt?" Yet Jeroboam, son of Nebat, this is the one that we keep hearing about, was so evil, an official of Solomon, son of David, rebelled against his master. Yet Jeroboam, son of Nebat, an official of Solomon, son of David, rebelled against his master. Some worthless scoundrels gathered around him and opposed Rehoboam, son of Solomon, when he was young and indecisive and not strong enough to resist them. And now you plan the kingdom of the Lord. And now you plan to resist the kingdom of the Lord, which is in the hands of David's descendants. You are indeed a vast army and have with you the golden calves that Jeroboam made to be your gods. So I'm going Jeroboam and Jeroboam, so just kind of bear with me because it just kind of depends. Same person. "But didn't you drive out the priests of the Lord, the sons of Aaron and the Levites, and make priests of your own as the people of other lands do? Whoever comes to consecrate himself with a young bull and 7 rams may become a priest of what are not gods." So he's saying, all you ask for is someone to consecrate themselves with a young bull and 7 rams, and they get to become a priest for your false gods, your false idols, or whatever they are. "As for us, the Lord is our God, and we haven't forsaken him. The priests who serve the Lord are sons of Aaron, and the Levites assist them. Every morning and every evening they present burnt offerings and fragrant incense to the Lord. They set out the bread on the ceremonially clean table and light the lamps on the gold lampstand every evening. We are observing the requirements of the Lord our God, but you've forsaken him." God is with us. He's our leader. His priests with their trumpets will sound the battle cry against you. People of Israel, don't fight against the Lord, the God of your ancestors, for you will not succeed. So he's talking to the other Israelites, the ones who are underneath Jeroboam, who represent Israel. He represents Judah and Benjamin, and he's saying, look, we're all brothers, we're all Israelites, and the Lord got us out of slavery. What are you doing? Whatever you're doing here, it's not going to succeed because you're not on the side of right. You have false gods that Jeroboam has set up for you, and it doesn't cost you anything to become a priest to those false gods. Now, Jeroboam had sent troops around to the rear so that while he was in front of Judah, the ambush was behind them. Judah turned and saw that they were being attacked at both front and rear. Then they cried out to the Lord. The priests blew their trumpets, and the men of Judah raised the battle cry. At the sound of their battle cry, God routed Jeroboam and all Israel before Abijah and Judah. The Israelites fled before Judah, and God delivered them into their hands. Abijah and his troops inflicted heavy losses on them, and they didn't have as many men, so that there were 500,000 casualties among Israel's able men. The Israelites were subdued on that occasion, and the people of Judah were victorious because they relied on the Lord, the God of their ancestors. You know, I know we've seen this before, but something about this and hearing it a second time, it's starting to make more sense to me in terms of, in the 18th year of Jeroboam, Abijah came into power. That kind of stuff is now making it easier for me to understand, so I'm hoping you too. But also sometimes when I'm reading, it's harder for me to understand it because I'm the one reading it. So you may already have gotten this, but for me, it's sliding easier off my tongue now. I'm starting to understand what, a little more. It's like being reinforced is what I'm trying to say. Abijah pursued Jeroboam and took from him the towns of Bethel, Jeshanah, and Ephron with their surrounding villages. Jeroboam did not regain power during the time of Abijah, and the Lord struck him down and he died. But Abijah grew in strength. He married 14 wives and had 22 sons and 16 daughters. The other events of Abijah's reign, what he did and what he said, are written in the annotations of the prophet Iddo, which is Iddo. So I think all I want to say about this is that Jeroboam had made all these false gods. And as we go on in this and we remember what was in Kings, and now this is the history being, noted. This is an annal of sorts. These are annals. I think, now we understand, and we understood before that Jeroboam had made these calves and idols, and it cost the priests nothing to become priests. And it constantly said, like Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, and his evil. Okay, so now, we're hearing it again and we're getting it. This guy just set Israel on a course of idol worship, okay? Whereas Judah and the sort of sub-tribe of Benjamin, they stayed with the Lord. For all intents and purposes, we know that they had evil kings too. So I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. We'll pick it up with 2 Chronicles 14, and you have a wonderful evening, okay? Take heart, don't fear. I love you. Bye-bye.